everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. This week I am talking about post-race recovery, as I have obviously just done a very big race, albeit not quite as big as I was hoping it was going to be, and a lot of you guys also I know are working up towards ultramarathons, marathons, spring marathons are definitely happening around this point, and loads of you will be having your biggest races ever, and maybe you don't know exactly how you should be recovering after them. I think this topic gets neglected a lot. You obviously talk a lot about recovery after training sessions so that you can fit in more training sessions, and you talk about the lead up to a race, how you can maximize performance. But a lot of people neglect recovery after a big race because you think, well, I've done all the hard work and now I can just flop and do nothing. And as we will find, obviously doing nothing is a great thing to do, but also if you want to get back to running and if you want to make your recovery a little bit easier, because it can be super difficult in terms of how you feel both physically and mentally, then there are lots of things that you can do to kind of speed up that process and make it a little bit less miserable. So I'm going to go through the things that I've been doing this last week, because as I record now, it has been exactly 1 week. In fact, I was still running at this point last weekend in the Lake District. I'll be talking about the things that I did in this last week and also the things that I'll be doing moving forward to get back into running, which I imagine a lot of you guys will want to be doing hopefully after your marathons and ultramarathons as well, so long as it hasn't put you off too much. So in the immediate aftermath of the race, you'll be doing the same things that you would do after a big training session, but kind of on steroids, because you will be feeling pretty knackered. You may have a lot of adrenaline from the kind of race atmosphere, or you may have a lot of anxiety, especially if you didn't finish or you didn't perform as well as you wanted. So you kind of need to think of all of that as added stress to the stress of actually running whatever race it is you've just done. So you need to be taking recovery seriously from the second you step across that finish line. That means the same things as you would after a big race. So water, hydration, including electrolytes, food. You might not want to eat after a big race. That's not because your body doesn't need the food. It's because basically the stress of running and the jiggle, 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 and the fact that you will have been having a lot of gels that maybe are making your mouth feel a little bit gross. It doesn't mean that you don't need to actually eat proper food as soon as you finish. A lot of race bags will have, you know, bananas in, that sort of stuff. But if they don't, make sure to get something that has carbohydrates to recover your glycogen stores and protein preferably as well to help start the muscle recovery process. So water and food are priorities number one. Then also just keep moving a little bit. You definitely don't want to be going for a cool down jog. You definitely don't want to be doing anything too intense, but just keeping your legs ticking over a little bit will massively, massively help stop your legs from completely seizing up as soon as you're finished. So in my race, it's a little bit different because obviously in ultramarathons, there's a lot of hiking anyway, but the last, how many, 8 kilometers of my race were walking. So I did have a lot of time for my heart rate to slow down, for my body to cool down, so that when I got in the car and did that half-an-hour journey back to the hotel, when I got out at the other end, although I really, really hurt, my legs hadn't seized up completely because I had kind of cool down a little bit from the time that I was running and racing, etc. So keep your legs ticking over a little bit, especially if you have a long drive. Try and cool down a little bit before getting into the car, because let me tell you, getting out the other end is not going to be fun. So those are basically the main things straight after a race, but definitely make sure to get in some food whether or not you feel like it. Kind of eat whatever your body can handle, but I think a kind of mix of carbohydrates and protein is a really good thing to kind of be shoveling into your body in massive quantities. Don't make yourself sick, but pretty big quantities. You might be wanting a super early night. In my opinion, there's kind of no such thing as too early. The adrenaline from a race might stop you from sleeping, and I know so many people, myself included, who really struggle to sleep after a really, really big day on the trails or out racing for so many different reasons. And don't worry too much if that is you, but if your body wants to go to sleep at like 8 p.m, by all means do that. You might wake up in the middle of the night, but your body will soak up like 9-10 hours of sleep because it really absolutely needs it. If you don't manage to get a really good night's sleep, don't worry too much. It should get better in the preceding days after the race. And then also naps. Naps are something that I feel like in this country, in the UK, we're not super on board with, but when I spent a lot of time in France, kind of napping was just sort of a little bit more normal. Obviously in Spain they have siestas, and in the Victorian era we did something called biphasic sleeping, which apparently is not actually better than the sleeping that we currently do, but basically we would split up our sleep, so you'd sleep some part of the way through the night and then you wake up, do some chores, put the laundry on, whatever it is. Putting the laundry on back then I imagine was just like sticking it in a vat of water, and then you'd go back to sleep again, have a couple more hours of sleep, and then you get up and do the rest of your day. I'm not suggesting that by any means, but having your big night's sleep and then having a nap the following afternoon of just like 20 or 30 minutes, even if it is literally just lying down on bed and closing your eyes, is really beneficial to recovery. It really lowers your stress levels, and anything that heightens your stress levels is gonna slow down your recovery. So anything you can do to calm yourself down is a great thing to be able to do. I know that's obviously not possible for everyone, and if you're going straight back to work afterwards, obviously that's going to be super difficult. But if your body is telling you to nap and you have the capacity to nap, take that opportunity. I cannot recommend it more. Also, for what it's worth, when I'm in really intense training, I nap all the time during the day, and I know a lot of my actual professional athlete friends do exactly the same. Like, a lot of them have set times to nap in the afternoon because, I mean, they're sleeping like 8-9+ hours at night, and then also have like half an hour nap in the afternoon, and 20 minutes is kind of optimal power nap sort of timing, and I'm a huge advocate, so you know, there you go. Okay, so that's sort of the immediate aftermath of the race and the first night. The week after is where your recovery can really start to kick in, and this will make a huge difference to how you feel and also how quickly you get back to exercise and sort of day-to-day activities afterwards as well. The primary overarching theme here is doing less, and that's just so that your body is allowed to recover, because your body wants to recover, but there are so many things that we do in day-to-day life that just make it that little bit harder. Even if you can't ace your sleep, even if you have a busy work life, even if you're on your feet all day, if you can just do less of all of that, then your body will be allowed to recover a lot quicker. Killian Jornet shared an amazing graph the other day of cost-benefit recovery quadrant, and I'm gonna put it up on the screen here. It is by a guy called Dr. Peter Tierney, and it's basically the things that you can do to improve recovery versus how much they cost. And thankfully, a lot of things that are best for recovery also cost the least. And there are lots of things that I do that, you know, fancy gadgets, whatever, and they are great, but the primary stuff that we need to be looking at are things like these things that I'm about to talk through now. Doing less, number one. No matter how far you have raced, I would recommend a minimum of 1 day off per 10 kilometers you have raced. So if you're doing a marathon, that's minimum 4 days off, but a lot of people take a week off, a lot of people take 2 weeks off. That's completely up to you. I think it is always better to err on the side of caution and over recovering than under recovering and maybe burning out before your next race, whenever it is. You definitely don't want to be doing that. So just take off an extra day, extra couple of days, just see how you feel, listen to your body. If you go out for a light, easy jog and it feels like shit, stop, walk back, and give yourself an extra day off. Your body will tell you if it needs it. The next thing of doing less is lower stress and anxiety. Whatever you can do to lower your stress and anxiety is a good thing to do, as I've just discussed, because increased stress increases inflammation. You will already have a lot of inflammation, reduces muscle repair, etc., etc. It has a pretty overarching reduction of our recovery, so it's well worth doing anything you can do to reduce stress and anxiety. The next one is don't get back to cross training so quickly, because even if you can do lots of different training, because your legs are the only things that are destroyed, maybe you want to go back to the gym, maybe you want to go and do some cycling. Obviously you know your body best, but I would say again, err on the side of caution and over recovering rather than under recovering. I've been to the gym once this week. I did an upper body session and a 20-minute easy spin where my legs were basically having very little resistance on the bike just to keep moving. But that is it. That is all I've done this week, other than dog walking, which has been great. I've really enjoyed it. And I'm gonna get back to running tomorrow, I think, with a super duper easy run, because obviously I have a couple of races coming up. But if I didn't have any races, I might take off 2 weeks and I'd be perfectly happy with that. So yeah, 1 day off per 10 kilometers run minimum. Next, Food and hydration. The second most important thing I think is food and hydration. This is, as I mentioned before, to replenish your glycogen stores. You will have eaten through your muscles' glycogen stores when you have been racing, even if you've been taking gels or, in my case, vegan sausage rolls and pizza, because these things are super duper intense. And because of that, you will probably have elevated hunger for like a few days at least after your race, and I would just honor that hunger. Don't try and restrict anything. If your body is saying you need a snack at a time that you wouldn't usually need a snack, have a snack. It is a good idea to make it sort of healthy, just because your body obviously needs all the help that it can get. But if you're craving various things and you're craving calories, eat some calories. I think we try and control things a little bit too much, and actually at the end of the day we just need to listen to our bodies a lot more. So favorite snacks, things like peanut butter on toast, PBJ, it's a bit of protein, a bit of carbohydrates in there. That's basically to replenish your glycogen stores, make sure that you're not in a calorie deficit anymore. Also, food and getting your hydration right is gonna improve your immune system, which gets hit pretty hard when we race. Obviously the stress of the race and the extreme endurance exercise is super duper tough on our immune system, and pretty much all exercise is actually really beneficial to our immune system, except for long distance racing. So it goes like this, it's kind of good, and then you do a race and it dips and then it comes back up again. And obviously training is really good for your immune system, but when you race it does dip for a little bit. So you want to be doing lots of things to make sure that you don't get ill. For example, not spending huge amounts of time in crammed spaces, public transport, that kind of stuff. And the food and hydration aspect of this will also help your immune system recover. Rehydrate. I don't just mean water, I mean electrolytes as well. Obviously if you're sweating loads, you will be sweating out loads of salts, and you need to replenish those not just on the day of the race but also in the preceding days afterwards. I have been so thirsty since my race. It's something I think I got a little bit wrong. I got the food perfectly right, but the hydration aspect, because there was no aid station until 50 kilometers in, I was obviously filling up at the very limited cafes and stores that I found on the route. So I only filled up twice up to that 50k. So I had 1, 2, 3 liters of water in 50k, which is kind of okay, but it did mean that I was pretty thirsty when I eventually finished at 60 kilometers. And because of that, I was really playing catch up afterwards. And I think if I had actually just had some electrolytes, gulped down, you know, a litre or 2 of electrolytes on that same day that I had finished, I wouldn't have been so thirsty in the following days. And I was literally waking up with dehydration headaches, and that is really problematic for your recovery. So if you can add some electrolytes to your water on the day of the race and the days following, then that is a worthwhile thing to do. Next up is sleep. I've spoken about sleep on the day of the race, the day after the race, but pretty much nothing replaces good deep sleep in terms of speeding up your body's recovery. Obviously that goes for the night of the race, but like I said, you can kind of catch up on that slowly in the days after the race. Chances are, like I said, you won't sleep super well on the night of the race, although maybe you will. I did. I think I slept for like 10 hours. I think I went to bed at like 8:45 and then slept pretty much through till the morning. But yeah, if you're really sore, then every time you turn over in bed it's gonna hurt a little bit, and then you're gonna wake up and maybe you'll have a bit of a broken sleep. But just make sure that you're prioritizing sleep for the week after the race, and nap if you need to. That is not just for the day of the race but also in the following week. Next up is hot bath and muscle soak. There is this argument between ice baths and hot baths. Ice baths obviously reduce inflammation, but in terms of muscle recovery, there is no evidence to suggest that ice baths are better than warm baths, and because of that, I'd much rather have a warm bath. I tend to have a hot bath or a warm bath the night of a race, so just to kind of relax all the muscles, and then have like one maybe the next night or the night after that as well, just to kind of like ease off any further DOMS, muscle soreness that you've got. I put in muscle soak. I really don't think there's very good evidence for muscle soak actually working, but I really like it. I think maybe it has like that 1% little thing of it improving your recovery, so I tend to just stick some in. You can get some from Radox for like £1, so, and that's like a decent sized bottle. So I would recommend doing that if you can find some. It's super cheap and I guess worth a shot. But yeah, in terms of that hot bath v cold bath thing, everyone has their preference, so do whatever you're used to. But if you've never had a cold bath or an ice bath before, I just wouldn't recommend doing it on the night after a race, because we want to be doing everything we can to reduce stress, and even the thought of it is stressing out my brain. So warm bath. bath. If you like a warm bath, have a warm bath. If you prefer an ice bath, have an ice bath. But if you want to reduce inflammation, you can obviously have a warm bath and also use ice packs, frozen peas, whatever it is, on any parts of your body that feel particularly inflamed. And then on to the kind of gadget side of things. Obviously there are massage guns, there's expensive sports massages you can get, and recovery boots that like inflate and increase your blood flow around your body. First of all, I would recommend not doing any of these on the day or the day after, or even the day after that, after your race, because your muscles are inflamed, they're in bits, they're super sore. The last thing they need is someone like digging their elbow in, because that's really not going to help. It's going to just stress out your whole body a little bit more. So nothing is better than someone sticking their elbow into your hamstrings or your calves or whatever, or your quads, God forbid. I would recommend nothing for a little bit. And then once your muscles actually do start recovering, you can do things like a massage gun if you've already got one and you find it helps muscle soreness. They have some evidence to suggest that they are beneficial, but it's this much. It's not a huge amount. One thing that I really have found help me are those big inflatable recovery boots, which unfortunately are super expensive. I got sent some ages ago and I thought they were a complete gimmick. I definitely did not expect them to work. And then I used them after Rhian Ultra, which I did in March last year, and that's 50 kilometers around the suburbs of Bristol. I pretty much ran the whole thing, got my marathon PB in that, which is like a trail ultra, and I used them after that and had almost no pain the next day, which is unheard of. And then my boyfriend started using them for after like heavy leg day in the gym, and he also has found a massive difference between using those and not using those. I imagine the effect that they have is improving blood circulation that could probably be done with like an easy spin session or a nice walk in the park. But sometimes the last thing you want to do after running however many kilometers is a walk or a spin session. So sitting in front of the TV with my feet up in these recovery boots is massively beneficial. But there's a reason I've put them number 5 on this list, and that is because A, they're super expensive, definitely not affordable or achievable for everyone. B, the evidence for them is it's there, but it's limited. And C, I actually don't think they do nearly as much as like sleep, eating well, hydrating, and just like doing absolutely nothing after your race. So yeah, they're on the list, but they're low down. And that is pretty much it. Those are all my major recovery tips. You, as a person who has inevitably, hopefully, trained for whatever race it is you have done, you will know what it is that you find helps after your big training sessions, and you should basically just be doing more of that. But pretty much just be kind to yourself. Your body has gone through a lot, and that is not just the stress of racing on your body, it's also the stress of all of those months of training and the anxiety of going towards a race that you maybe don't know if you can finish, and just like the excitement, all of that will lead to your body being a lot more fatigued than if you'd just done like a 40-kilometer training run or something. So it is super intense on your body. Don't underestimate that. Just be really kind to yourself and err on the side of rest more, eat more, and recover more before getting back to your normal training session. That is what I have been doing the last week, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I've been quite busy actually, but not doing any actual exercise, which has been wonderful. I'll be going back, like I said, to running tomorrow. And also, before I sign off, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your wonderful comments on last week's vlog. I did not expect people to be so kind, and I know like most of us have been or will be in that situation where you're injured and you have to pull out of a race, or you're injured and you don't pull out of a race, but just like the psychological stress of that is immense. So I know a lot of you guys know how it feels, and a lot of you guys will eventually find out how it feels. So I really appreciate your comments. And if you have ever DNF'd from a race, or if you have recently DNF'd from a race, or if you're worried about DNFing from a race, go and read the comments under that, because they're very heartwarming and make you feel less alone when you maybe haven't done what it is that you hope to do in a particular race. So yes, thank you. So that is it for this week's vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it is or will be useful to some of you. I would love for you guys to add your own recovery tips as well down in the comments box below. I know different things work for different people. I tried to basically include all the stuff that works for me and also the things that I have read about, research, blah, blah. But everyone has their own little things that they do, tips and tricks up their sleeves for post-race. Just stick them down below and go and give the comments a read. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I hope those of you who celebrate Easter had a lovely Easter. Those of you who didn't had a lovely bank holiday weekend, or at least it's bank holiday here in the UK. I don't really know how that works elsewhere, but I'm recovering. I'm feeling great. I have recovered way quicker than I expected. So I'm super excited to get out for a run tomorrow. And then of course, my following vlogs will be of me running out and about in the lead up to Croatia, which is so exciting. And also a little bit too close for comfort, but I'm very, very excited for that. So that is it for this week's vlog. Thanks again for watching and I will see you next time. Bye!